Welcome back. So now that we talked about what credit is, your credit score, your credit report, and your credit risk, now it's time to get down to the nitty-gritty of credit. Credit is comprised of 5 components of credit. The components of credit are extremely important because they work together to create your credit score, and they work synonymously. So you can't have one without the other. You can't focus on one without focus on the other, because again, the 5 components of credit are all that you need to have a high credit score. Each area has a specific strategy that uses synergy with the other areas and the other categories to increase your score. 2 of them are weighted more heavily than the other 2. So it's extremely important that those 2 areas that are weighted more heavily has very good performance on your credit report, but the other 3 are still very important, and we'll get into those now. So the first and foremost, the most important component of credit is payment history. You probably have already known this, you probably already heard of this, but it is true. You must pay your bills on time to establish a good payment history and a good credit score. Payment history is 35% of your credit score. I'll say that again. Payment history is 35% of your credit score, which means it's the most influential component of credit. One late payment can decrease your credit score more than 50 points. You heard that correctly, more than 50 points, because each credit line on your credit report or each credit account on your credit report holds a specific weight. Some of them weigh more than the others. The strongest credit line is a mortgage when you buy a house, and the second strongest trade line or credit line is a credit card. So missing those payments or making those payments late can hurt your score so much, more than 50 points. Remember that. Credit is affected by your most recent behavior. So a late payment that you missed last month is going to hurt your credit score way more than a late payment that you missed 2-3 years ago. So it's important that you develop a system, just like you learned in the managing your money the fit way. Develop that system to make sure that you pay your bills on time. Vow that from this day forward, you're going to pay your bills on time. So put your hand up, your right hand, and say, I, so-and-so, say your name, vow to never miss a payment again. Because this is important, and this is going to help you increase your credit score. The next component of credit is what we call utilization rate, or amounts owed. This is amounts that you owe on your installment loans, like a car and a house or student loans. And it's amounts that you owe on revolving loans, like credit cards. Amounts owed is extremely important, so much so that it's 30% of your total credit score. I'll say that again. Amounts owed is so important that it's 30% of your total credit score. Again, it's also known as a utilization rate, because on revolving loans like credit cards, we have a balance and then we have a credit limit. So every time we use our credit card, the credit card company is paying attention to how much we use and how much we have left to use. That's the balance and the available limit. Now, that utilization rate has a percentage. So let's say you have a $1,000 credit limit, and I'm using $1,000 for simplicity in terms of math. If you use a $1,000 credit card and you go to the store and you swipe $100, you've used 10% of your credit limit. $100 divided by 1,000 is 10%. That's okay. If you spend $200, then that's 20%. You're still okay. If you use $300, you're at 30%, and that's still okay. But by the time you get to 40%, you're starting to show that you're over leveraging your credit card. By the time your balance is over 50% and 60%, now you're saying that I can't afford my lifestyle. And the reason why you're showing you can't afford your lifestyle is because when you apply for a credit card, they ask you all of your personal information. They ask you where you work, or if you're an employee or an entrepreneur. They ask you how much money you make in a year. They ask you all of this personal information to determine how much they're going to give you for a credit limit. So you've already told them what your income is. So if you're maxing out your credit card, you're explaining to them that you're not managing your earnings well, so much so that you have to max out your credit card. That's a terrible indication to the credit card company. So guess what happens to your credit score? It goes down, and it goes down immediately the very next month when it's reported, because credit is always reported in real time. So it's extremely important that your amounts owed is 30% of your credit score. Remember that. But when you're using a revolving loan like a credit card, you have to make sure that you're under 30% at all times. That doesn't mean stay at 30%. 30% is the max that you should be using and paying it off. Your balance should be under 30% at all times. Now, the next component of credit is your credit length. Now, this one you really can't do anything about to start with, because credit starts at the age of 18 for all legal U.S. citizens, and you start to develop your credit score. So as you start to open an account and pay your bills on time, year after year, the length of your credit is going to grow. But where people mess up in this area is they start to close accounts. So instead of managing their money well, they get freaked out because they're trying to restore their credit. So they pay off all of their balances and then they close all of their credit cards. That's a bad move, because now you're taking away the credit length, which is a component of credit. It is 15% of your credit score. So if you go closing all of these accounts because you're afraid that you're going to use the credit cards and you don't know how to control yourself, so you'll rather close it, it shows that you're bad at managing money, and you're going to take away that 15% of the credit and your score is going to go down. So it's extremely important that you make sure you pay attention to the credit length. Never close accounts. Once you open a credit card account and start using it, it's yours forever. It's like a marriage. Keep it, do right by it, it'll do right by you and increase your credit score, okay? The next component of credit is credit mix. Credit mix is also extremely important. It's 10% of your credit score. Credit mix is the type of credit you have in different industries. So I'll give you an example. Whoever you are on the other end watching this video, let's say you have a 780 credit score, and your credit score is comprised of 1 car and 3 credit cards. You've paid all your credit cards on time. You've managed your balances well. You kept them under 30%. You have high limits on all of your cards, and you have a car note that you've done right by. You never missed a payment. You got a 780. Bravo. Good for you. But then let's say I have a 780 as well. I have a mortgage. I have student loans. I have a car note, and I have 2 credit cards. That's 5 trade lines. You also have 5 trade lines made up of credit cards and a car. Whose credit profile looks better if we were to compare 2 people? I will look better than you. Why? Because I have a great credit mix, and my credit mix is 10% of my score. I show that I'm able to manage my credit in different industries. That's what you have to do. So if you do not have credit in different industries, then I suggest you do so. You should have credit in the car industry, the education industry, the retail industry. There's different industries that you can have credit in. Now, I don't want you to just go out and start applying for stuff. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is your credit mix is important, and it's important that you make sure you pay attention to your mix as you're on your journey to restoring credit. The last component of credit is inquiries. Now, inquiries are extremely important. but they're not more important than payment history and amount owed. When I work with people and help them restore their credit, they are so desperately worried about inquiries. Inquiries are 10% of your credit score. So while inquiries are important, it shouldn't be the number one focus. If you have 20 inquiries on your credit report and you're paying your bills late, I'm going to tell you, start making your payments on time. Inquiries do fall off after 2 years. A lot of people try to dispute their inquiries. I really don't see inquiries fall off that well from disputes, but all you have to do is stop applying for credit cards. We already know what the credit risk is, how to read the credit report, and what's a good credit score and a bad credit score. So if you are not in that area, then you shouldn't be applying for anything. So if you're in a bad space for 2 years, don't apply for anything. Use the tactics that I gave you in the managing the money to fit way section, and that is going to help you save your money, do right by yourself, and don't apply for anything for 2 years and watch all of those inquiries fall off. So those are the 5 components of credit. It's extremely important that you manage each area of those, but recognize that payment history and amounts owed, that was 65% of your credit score. Just those 2 components. So if you only focus on those 2, you get a 65. A 65 on the test is a D, right? You almost failed. So that's the reason why you have to pay attention to the other 25%. I'm sorry, 35%, because you have to pay attention to the inquiries, you have to pay attention to the credit length and the credit mix. Together, all 5 of them work together to bring your credit score high. Okay? See you in the next video.